everyone, wishing you all good health and peace in life. As the cold winds of winter crept over the village, a single mother struggled to finish her fragile wooden house. Just when hope seemed thin, a kind man stepped forward, Uncle D, whose heart carried more love than blood could ever define. He worked day and night, not for himself, but for Huyen and her little girl Maya, so they would not tremble in the cold. And as the new school year begins, Maya steps into her classroom with bright eyes and a pure smile. Behind that smile lies the silent sacrifice of a man who chose to be her father without blood, proving that true family is built not by birth, but by love, devotion, and the courage to protect. The first days of autumn carried a sharp chill, reminding everyone that winter was close at hand. In a small, quiet village, the sound of hammering echoed softly through the morning mist. D, a man with worn hands but a gentle heart, was bent over a wooden frame, his clothes damp from days of rain. Beside him stood Huyen, a single mother who had carried the weight of poverty and hardship alone for too long. And just beyond them, little Maya arranged her school books with bright eyes, her laughter breaking the silence of their unfinished home. The house they were building was simple bamboo walls, a wooden frame, a roof patched with care, but to Huyen and Maya it meant shelter, warmth, and dignity. For many nights, Huyen had lain awake worrying whether the old leaking hut would survive the winter storms. Yet now, with Dee's help, hope returned. He was not her husband, nor Maya's father, but he worked as though he carried their future on his shoulders. Dee, why do you push yourself so hard? Huyen once asked, seeing his hands blistered and his body weary. He only smiled and shook his head. Because Maya deserves more than cold nights and torn clothes, and you deserve peace. For Maya, the excitement of the new school year was everything. She twirled in her new dress, her eyes shining. Uncle D, do I look pretty today? She asked, giggling. Dee's heart softened. To him, Maya was already his daughter, bound not by blood but by love. That morning, Huyen packed a small breakfast for Maya. The girl carefully folded her uniform, whispering, "Mom must eat more than me, so she can grow up faster." Her innocence, her tiny sacrifices, revealed the depth of a child's heart shaped by hardship. When Maya walked to school, proudly holding her bag, Dee stood by the doorway of the half-finished house. His chest tightened with both pride and longing. He knew the world might see him as an outsider, but in his heart, he had already chosen his place with Huyen, with Maya, with the humble wooden home that would keep them safe through the cold nights ahead. Winter was coming, but so was a new beginning. And though Dee had no blood tie to Maya, he had given her something even stronger, the love and protection of a father who asked for nothing in return. The sun rose higher that morning, casting golden light through the gaps of the wooden walls. Dee wiped the sweat from his forehead, then carefully adjusted the bamboo poles that would become the fence of the small yard. Huyen carried a basket of laundry to the stream, her figure thin but graceful, her steps quiet and steady. From inside the house came Maya's voice, humming the song she had learned at school the day before. Life was still poor, but there was a different warmth now, an unspoken bond holding them together. At noon, Dee returned from the market with a small package. "I sold the jackfruit," he said with a tired smile. "It wasn't very sweet, but it was enough for a few kilos of rice." And he opened the package to reveal a pair of trousers. "I thought you might need these." Huyen looked at the gift, then at him, her eyes clouded with both gratitude and worry. "Dee, we must save money. You shouldn't. But before she could finish, Maya came running, her face glowing. Mom, Uncle D bought you new pants. Try them on. You'll look so pretty. The child's laughter melted away Huyen's hesitation. She tried on the trousers, blushing faintly when Maya clapped her hands. Dee said nothing, but his smile told her everything. His happiness was simply seeing her cared for. That evening, they shared a meal of rice, fried tofu, and a few pieces of the jackfruit Dee had saved. It was humble, but the table felt full. Maya pushed her bowl toward her mother. Mom, eat more. Maya is already full. Huyen shook her head, placing the food back in front of the child. You must eat to grow strong. But secretly, her heart ached with pride. Maya's kindness was a reflection of the love she had received, even in the hardest times. Later, as the stars appeared, Dee sat outside under the half-built roof, listening to the crickets. Maya fell asleep in Huyen's arms, her school bag resting beside her. The wind carried the scent of wet earth and bamboo. Huyen glanced at Dee, her voice low. I don't know what the future holds, but today, because of you, Maya had the happiest day of her life. Dee looked at the small family before him, his heart heavy yet full. I can't change the past, Huyen, but I can build the future one meal, one smile at a time. And in that quiet night, beneath their unfinished wooden roof, a promise was born. A promise not written in blood or law, but in love, the kind that makes strangers into family. The days passed, and the cool winds of autumn grew sharper. Dee worked tirelessly to finish the last wall of the wooden house before the winter rains came. His hands were cracked and bruised, but he never complained. Every hammer strike was a vow to shield Huyen and Maya from the storms, to give them a home where they could finally rest without fear. One afternoon, while smoothing a bamboo wall, Dee paused to look at Maya. She sat cross-legged on the floor, carefully practicing her letters by the fading sunlight. Her lips moved silently as she spelled out each word. Every so often, she would glance at Huyen, who was mending an old shirt nearby, and beam with pride. Uncle D, Maya called suddenly. When I grow up, I will be a principal, and I will buy a car so I can drive you and Mom anywhere you want. Dee chuckled, his chest tightening with tenderness. Then I must work even harder, so my principal will not be ashamed of me. Huyen looked up, her smile faint but her eyes soft. The three of them shared a silence that was deeper than words. But as night fell, and the crickets began their chorus, Dee's heart grew heavy again. He stepped outside, staring at the half-moon above the hills. His thoughts returned to two. The divorce had dragged on longer than he expected. Without it, he could not fully move forward. And though he longed to marry Huyen and give Maya his name, the shadow of his old life still clung to him. He pulled out his phone and dialed. The line buzzed, but no answer. His jaw tightened. Why won't she return? Why keep holding me back? Behind him, the door creaked open. Huyen stood in the doorway, holding a lantern. Her face glowed softly in the light. Dee, come inside. It's cold out here. He nodded and followed, pushing his worries deep into his chest. Inside, the house smelled of warm rice and jackfruit. Maya was already asleep, curled beneath a thin blanket. Dee sat down across from Huyen. For a long time, neither spoke. Finally, she whispered, "You don't have to fight this alone. Whatever happens, Maya and I are not afraid. We are with you." Dee looked at her, his throat tightening. At that moment, He realized that family was not something given by blood or by papers, it was something built, piece by piece, like the wooden house that sheltered them. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, their little home glowed with the quiet strength of love.
The first true winter night came with heavy winds sweeping down from the mountains. The trees groaned, and the old leaves scattered across the yard. Inside the newly finished wooden house, a single oil lamp flickered, casting warm shadows on the bamboo walls. Dee crouched near the hearth, feeding the fire with small sticks of wood. "The smoke is strong tonight," he muttered, waving it away from his face. But he smiled when he turned back to see Maya wrapped tightly in a blanket, her cheeks rosy from the cold. "Mom, it's so warm here," Maya said, snuggling against Huyen. "Before, when it rained, my clothes always got wet. But now, our house doesn't leak anymore."
Huyen stroked her daughter's hair gently. "It's thanks to Uncle D," she whispered. "We must remember to be grateful." Maya peeked at Dee, her eyes shining. "Then when I grow up, I'll build a big house for Uncle D, so he will never get wet either." Dee laughed softly, though his heart ached with emotion. "I don't need a big house, Maya. As long as you study well, that is enough for me." Later that night, after Maya fell asleep, Huyen and Dee sat quietly by the dying fire. The wind rattled against the walls, but the little home held strong. Huyen's hands rested on her lap, her expression calm but thoughtful. "Dee," she said softly, "you've given us so much already. Sometimes I wonder, why do you sacrifice so much for Maya and me? You don't owe us anything." Dee gazed at the sleeping child, then at Huyen. His voice was low but firm. "Because I cannot stand to see you suffer. Because when I look at Maya, I see a future worth protecting. I may not be her father by blood, but I choose to be her father by heart." Huyen's eyes glistened in the dim light. For the first time in years, she felt the heavy weight of loneliness lift. But even as warmth filled the little house, a shadow lingered. Dee knew his past was still unsettled. Silence stretched on, and the divorce papers remained unsigned. Each day of waiting was another chain holding him back from the future he longed to claim openly. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, "I will not let her keep me in the past. For Huyen, for Maya, I must finish this fight." And as the winter wind howled outside, Dee silently vowed that nothing, not the cold, not poverty, not the ghost of an unfinished marriage, would stop him from giving the two people he loved most a new beginning. The story of Dee, Huyen, and Maya teaches us that family is not defined only by blood, but by love, sacrifice, and commitment. Dee had no obligation to Huyen or her daughter, yet he chose to stand beside them, to build a home with his own hands, and to give Maya the chance for a brighter future. His kindness shows that true fatherhood is measured not by titles or papers, but by the quiet strength to protect, provide, and love unconditionally. Huyen's resilience reminds us of the silent power of a mother's sacrifice. She endured poverty and hardship, yet never stopped giving her daughter hope, teaching Maya by example that love means putting others before oneself. And little Maya, with her innocent dreams and pure heart, shows that even in the hardest circumstances, joy can bloom from the simplest things: a new school uniform, a warm house that doesn't leak, or the presence of someone who truly cares. Together, their story reminds us that happiness is not built on wealth or perfection, but on the bonds we choose to nurture. True love is not about what we receive, but what we are willing to give for the sake of those we cherish.